Hi everyone, welcome to Push Your Luck video. My name is Eric, and today we'll be looking at Nations, the dice game from Asmodee. This is a 2015 release, and it is by the same designer who brought you Nations, the board game. The designer is Rustin Haakonsen. So, Nations, the dice game, it plays 2 to 4 players. It's about 15 minutes per player. As you can tell, it is a lighter version of Nations, the board game, and you could almost think of it as sort of like an appetizer for the board game. So if you enjoyed Nations, the dice game, you probably will enjoy Nations, the board game, for a more fuller, richer experience. So let's take a look at the game rules for Nations, the dice game, and I'll give you my thoughts. So these are the components you'll find in Nations, the dice game. The cardboard tiles are very thick. It is very similar. It's probably the same factory that created Nations, the board game, except that you have now a lot more dice of these dice, and they are very nice dice. They are etched in, the markings are etched in and painted in, so it will probably not be worn out over time, not like some dice which are the prints are actually printed on them. So each player will have a player board, as you can see here, and they'll all start. And each player will start with 5 white dice, as you can see here. There's also a player aid or player guide, which also tells you the player starting order, as well as a round overview of what happens in Nations, the dice game. There's also a central board, a market board in a way, where each age, the tiles from each age or each epoch or each era will be placed on this market board. Now there's 12 spots on the market board. If you're playing one player, so one of the things I did not mention is that Nations can play solo. If you play one player, then the fourth column will not be populated. But otherwise, for games of 2 to 4, everything will be populated. There are 15 tiles in each era, so only 12 will appear here, the other 3 will be out of the game. And the game lasts 4 eras. After the end of 4 eras, whoever has the most points will win the game. There's also a scoreboard. So this part of the board is a score track, where players will use the markers to see how many points they have. There's also a book portion here. So if you played Nations, the board game, you'll see that this is very familiar. So it kind of counts how many books or technologically advanced a nation is. There's also events tile here. There are only 3 events per era, and you randomly choose one at the start of each era, and then you place them here. Now this is to allow you to look at the famine and the war and score points if you have that particular number of icons on your dice or on your chits at the end of each round. So let's go through each round and see how it goes. So we'll go to the handy player guide card. So at the start of a round, new tiles and events. What this means is that the market, any tile from the previous era will be removed, and you'll repopulate the market again randomly, putting 12 of the tiles onto this market board. Event, you will discard the previous event tile from the previous era, discard it, and then randomly pull 1 out of 3 and then put it there. Next, these are the actions that you can do. So in turn order, each player will do 1 action, and then the next player will take his turn, and so on and so forth until you pass. So when the player cannot do anything or decides not to do anything, you pass by just rotating the player guide, player aid or turn order card this way to indicate that you have passed. Remaining players will continue doing until everybody has passed, and then you move on to the next stage. So what are the actions you can do? Buy tiles. So the first thing you can buy tiles. If you look at the market board, there are numbers at the side here, 3x, 2x, 1x, and then you can see there are different tiles. For example, this is like a building tile. So this area here will tell you the costs or what you need to pay to be able to buy this tile. And if it's in the first row, that means that I only need to pay 1 of this coins, 1 gold, for example, to be able to buy this tile and put it into my player board. There are 3 types of tiles. These are building tiles. These are leaders. Alright, the green ones are colonies, and these are wonders. So each of the tile, when you buy them, will have a different function, different place in your game. So if it's your first turn, you will take your five dice you have and you roll them. Alright, then you put them at one side. So these are the dice that you can use to buy or do other things. Each player will also have 2 tokens at the start of the game. One is a money token and one is a reroll token. So this is a reroll token. So for example, if I want to buy the brewery, I can spend one of this and put it in my used dice area, or I could use this token. So if I use this, I'll take this brewery. Now I must replace one of the 5 starting buildings that I have. You can only at most have 5 buildings at one time, so you'll definitely be replacing them along the way. So I can replace any of them. At this point, it doesn't really matter what you replace because they're all the same. If you disregard the name or the pictures, they're all generic buildings essentially. So I can replace it here. Now when I replace something, replace a building, I need to return back whatever I covered. So in this case, I need to return a white dice. And then I'll get back whatever is printed here. So in this case, I'll get a yellow dice. So I could use the dice that I've already used. I could return the dice I already used back into the stockpile and then draw 1 yellow dice. Now when I build a new building, whenever I add a new building to my player board, I'll immediately take whatever dice that I have been awarded and roll it. So that means that I can now use this dice in subsequent turns. So this is how you buy a building. The different dice will give you different benefits. So for example, the generic white dice is you get one. You can at most get 1 of each of the available resources. So this would be either 1 gold, 1 book. Book is meant for that. 1 food. Food is meant for famine. 1 sword. Sword is usually meant for colonies, if you buy colonies, or if you for war. Last one is this funny stone symbol, and that is for that's meant to be architects, and that's for wonders. The yellow one will have better odds, mostly to get gold, more gold or more food. The blue dice will give you more books or more architects. The red dice is for war, so it's more swords than the other dice. So that's how you can buy the building. If you buy a leader, you pay the cost and you put it here. The leader immediately gives you whatever they have here. So in this case, it'll be tokens. So you get additional reroll token and put it into your area that you can use. There can only be 1 leader at one time. So if you have a new leader, you replace the leader, discard the leader, put a new leader down onto your board and return whatever token that was replaced and get new tokens. Colonies. You just pay the swords to get this colony. Now this colony gives you this token. Colonies just put at the side of your player board. You can have as many colonies as you want. Lastly, the wonders. If you buy them, you need to put them in the slot. So this is the work in progress slot. They are not yet completed, so you still need to do certain actions to complete them. You can only have 1 work in progress wonder at one time, but after you have finished building the wonder, you can put them at the side of your player board. You can have as many built wonders as you want, which will lead us into the next action that you can do, which is build wonder. So when you build wonder, each wonder will have a little cost here. So this will indicate how many architects tokens that you need or dice that you need to use to be able to completely build this wonder. So in this case, I do not have any of them. If, for example, I manage to roll one of these symbols, alright, I can now use this and complete my wonder, this which is terracotta army. So I put this at the side of my player board. I'll get 1 sword token. That will cost 1 action. The last action you can do is a reroll. So if you have these reroll tokens, you can spend them now and you can reroll 1 or as many dice as you want that is unused. So any dice that you previously used, you can no longer reroll them, but any dice that you did not use yet, you can reroll as many of them as you want. So that will also take out an action. Now take note, at any time, that will also take out 1 action. Take note, at any time you can always trade 2 dice for 1 gold, 1 architect or 1 food. Okay. Now after everyone has passed, we'll go to produce and score books. This will decide where you are on the book track. So how many book icons on your dice or book tokens that you have, you will use them and then you move that number of spaces up this book track. Why do you do this? It's because in 3 and 4 player games, 3 and 4 player games, how many players that are behind you, you score 1 point each. In 2 player games, you will score 2 points if you have the most books. In single player game as well, you also score 2 points for if you have most books. This will mean that this could be quite significant, because if you are ahead of everyone else in a 4 player game, for example, you'll be scoring 3 points per era, which means a total of 12 points if you manage to be ahead. And in a small scoring track like this, can be quite significant. So after you do produce and score books, you look at famine. Famine means looking at the event tile, and if you have this amount of food token on your dice, food tokens or food these icons on your dice, you score 1 point. Doesn't matter whether you have 4, 3, or 2. You just only score at most 1 point. And then you look at player order. So you count the number of unused sword tokens or sword icons on your dice. Whoever has the most will be the next starting player, and whoever has second most will be the second player, and so on and so forth. Then you look at war. War is the same as famine. You look at if you have at least 1 unused sword token or sword icon on your dice, you get 1 point. Now this event will increase in future eras. So in the second era, you get 2 points if you meet the famine or war criteria. And in the third era, you get 3 points, and fourth era, you get 4 points. So after everyone has done this, you go back to the new tiles and event, you reset the board again, everybody, then the start player will roll the dice and start the game, start that round. So at the end of the era, whoever has the most points will win the game. Some of these wonders will give you points. This means points, alright, which you will calculate at the end of the game. There are buildings as well. In the fourth era, most of the buildings will no longer have any dice you can get, but usually just give you points. Some leaders at the end of the round, at the end of fourth era, will also give you points. So yeah, so that's how you play Nations, the dice game. Now let's go to my final thoughts. Okay, so what do I think of Nations, the dice game? Now it is a light game. It is definitely a taste of what you will experience if you get the Nations, the board game. It is fast. It plays very fast. In fact, 15 minutes per player is pretty accurate. So including rules explanation, you probably are looking at a 1 hour game for 4 players. There are a lot of dice in the game, so it might be something that you think that I will not enjoy because of a lot of dice. I don't really enjoy games that have too much random luck. But in this case, you can mitigate the dice that you have, because if, for example, you think that you are pretty unlucky in rolling dice, you should go for tiles that give you more rerolls. And reroll is an action as well, but you should go for like leaders that give you reroll tokens, and you should go for buildings that at the very least will give you some more dice that can give you like, for example, if I want to be able to buy a lot of stuff, I will go for buildings give me more yellow dice. If I want to win in books, I want to go for dice, the blue dice. Buildings give me blue dice. And even if your dice luck is bad, at the very least you can still trade 2 dice for one of the other like 1 money or 1 architect. So in this way, there are quite a few mitigating actions that you can take if you are down on your luck when you're playing Nations dice game. Now, while it is light, there are certain issues that I find with the game. For example, I think replayability will be a problem. Right now, there's only 15 tiles, and you're almost certainly playing 12 out of 15 every game for every era. I think that could run dry after a while. So I kind of wished that there are more tiles, or like maybe 60 or 30 or 60 tiles, so that there's more replayability options. I kind of wish that the event tile seems a bit weak. They just tell you what you need to meet for famine, what you meet for war requirements before you can get points, and there's no penalty per se if you could not meet the famine. They call it famine, and if you cannot meet it, there's no penalty. So I kind of wish that there was maybe a penalty system, so that if you cannot meet the famine, you cannot meet the war, you get penalized for points. But right now it's only if you can meet it, then you get extra points. So that's kind of I guess the wording is kind of weird to me. Um, the books track seems to be very powerful, especially if you started ahead of everyone and you just make sure you maintain your lead. So but at the start, the person who's ahead is usually the last player. So I guess that's a way of catch up for the last player, because the last player will often not be able to buy the cheaper tiles that are available in the market. So I guess that's a way to help the last player catch up with the rest. Um, and the turn order is pretty important in the game. Being first player, you have a lot of dips, but at the same time, it also depends on the luck of your roll of the dice. So I would say that I did enjoy the game. The players that I played with also enjoyed the game, even though there's a lot of dice rolling and stuff like that. But it never feels as if you're out of control. That it feels like you still have choices to make. There's still meaningful decisions that you can make to mitigate the luck of the dice rolls. So I would say that if you enjoyed Nations, but kind of felt that it might be not your it might be a bit too heavy or stuff like that, then you definitely should give Nations dice game a try. On a personal, I would say that it is a try before you buy. I would enjoy playing it. I don't mind playing it again. It's pretty fast, set up pretty fast to play, pretty fast to tear down. But I can see that after 10 games or so, I might get a bit tired of it, because of the you always kind of know that I'm always going for the best dice, or I'll just try to get as many colonies as I can. There are a few different strategies you can try, but overall, because of the lack of the variety of tiles that you can buy, I think that will be the one that will limit my enjoyment of the game. So this is Nations Dice Game. Thanks to Asmodee for this review copy, and thank you for watching.